Hey everybody, it's Will Stewart with Brazos on the Fly, and I just wanted to do a quick video for y'all to update y'all on some information about Brazos on the Fly for the next couple of months, and then do a quick review of a product I've been using for the last couple of months that I really have enjoyed. So first things first, I'm going to give you some information about Brazos on the Fly just in case you're wanting to book a trip, or you've had questions and just haven't had time to ask them, or you're too embarrassed to ask them. I don't know. Don't be like my students and be embarrassed to ask questions. That's what I'm here for. So, Brazos on the Fly, this is my side hustle. I am doing this part-time just because I enjoy fly fishing. I enjoy teaching people how to fly fish. And since I'm teaching high school now, started that 3 years ago, I have time during the summers to do so. The closest body of water that is ideal for fly fishing is the Brazos River. And I've grown up around it, so that's kind of my home water is the Brazos River below Possum Kingdom Lake. I'm based in Olney, Texas, so one of the things I did want to talk about is if you book a trip with me and you are in Olney, Texas or Graham, Texas, those, or anywhere in between, me and the river. So it's about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour drive for me to get to the river. So if you book a trip with me and you're somewhere between Olney and the Highway 16 bridge on the Brazos, you are welcome to ride with me. I'll establish that when you set up your trip. If you want to ride with me right now, due to COVID-19, I will ask that you wear a mask in the vehicle with me. That's out of courtesy to you and to me and our families and people we're around the most. So if you're not cool with that, that's fine. Bring your own vehicle. That's perfectly fine too. If you're nearby and you still want to bring your own vehicle, not because of the mask, then do that. That'll give you a little bit of freedom when we get off the water to, once we get back to the takeout, I'm loading stuff up. You can go ahead and jet and go get some lunch. Lunch, supper, whatever. And go get cleaned up. If you do ride with me, you're going to unload the boat and all of the gear. I'm just kidding. If you ride with me, it's the same thing. It's just you're going to have to wait on me to get done. So it's going to save you miles and gas, though, and that way, on the way to the river, we can kind of talk about how things are going to go and what to expect. So that's just kind of a protocol thing right now. If you're going to ride with me, please wear a mask. And if you have a problem with that, I would ask that you bring your own vehicle. So what else on information? So traveling to the river was one. Availability. So as I said, I teach high school, which is about to ramp up in a couple weeks. So I've got 10 weekdays left that I can do guided trips. I highly recommend that you book a weekday trip if you can, because the crowds are less, there's less canoes and kayaks going down, and there's less fishermen. If you can't swing a weekday, you're in luck, because I do offer, as I'm available, weekends during the school year. So if you can't, in the next 10 days, get with me on a trip, then weekends are fine too. We might have to be a little bit more picky about where we fish, just based on how many other people are out. But this time of year is excellent time to fish on the Brazos. The bigger bass are moving around. They move up into the shallow water in the evening when it cools off. So evenings can be just absolute fire right now. It's exciting as well because a lot of times you can pull some of those in on a topwater fly, and that is like the holy grail of fly fishing, is having a good night or a good day of fly fishing on topwater. For me, anyway. What else? So availability through August 16th, I can do weekdays. After that point, it'll be strictly weekdays. If you have any questions that you need to ask about getting a trip set up or anything like that, if you have any questions about fly fishing in general, you can reach me at my email, which is brazosonthefly, BRAZOSONTHEFLY @gmail.com, and I'm going to put links to this over here, and also down in the information on the video. But brazosonthefly@gmail.com. The phone number is 940-564-0722. You can also send me a direct message on Instagram, and the Instagram handle is @Brazos on the fly, or on Facebook. I also have a Facebook page. There's also a link down below to the website for Brazos on the fly. If you go there, you can see the prices broken down between half days and full days, and a short list of what to bring and what I supply. So beyond that, if you do set up a trip, I'll get in communication with you one way or another, phone call, text, email, whatever, and we'll have to talk about what you expect to get from the trip. So are you a new fly fisherman? Do you have a specific species you want to catch? Do you have any physical limitations, that sort of thing? So biggest thing right now is heat. So if you're not that tolerant of heat, you might want to wait until October and set up a weekend trip. So that being said, I'm going to go on to the review now. If there's any other questions that you might have, be sure to contact us. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and get the word out there, share it, and get us as many followers as you can so we can get some business going. Okay, so people, one of the biggest questions before I pull this product up, one of the biggest questions I get from people is, do I need waders? For a lot of fly fishing, yes, you do need waders. If you think that you want to really dive in deep in fly fishing, go ahead and buy a pair of waders. But what I would recommend, if you're going to fish with me, between April and probably the end of October, so April through October, you don't need a set of waders. So by waders, I'm talking about this thing that's hanging on my door back here, like the chest waders with the suspender straps. They have either boot feet or stocking feet, and you can wear some of these big clunky boots like this with them, and it keeps you warm and dry. So if you fish April to October with me on the Brazos, you don't need that unless you just absolutely want it. If you fish from October through March with me, and you're trying to catch some of those released rainbow trout that they put in the Brazos or other fish, it doesn't matter, that water's going to be a lot colder, and you're going to be a lot more comfortable wearing waders like this, the chest waders, or even hip waders, because we're going to have to get in the water a little deeper, and the water's going to be cold. So you don't want to be soaked in 40, 50 degree water while you're fly fishing. It's not fun, especially if the air outside is not warm either. So what I have done in the past is I'll wear an old pair of tennis shoes. So old tennis shoes are fine. If it's all you have, you're starting out fly fishing, you're not sure if it's something you really enjoy, wear old tennis shoes. Don't spend a bunch of money on waders, and don't spend a bunch of money on wading shoes until you know you really like fly fishing. If you do other kinds of fishing, bait fishing, conventional tackle, that sort of thing, and you're in the water a lot, then buy this product I'm about to show you. But until you really buckle down and say, fly fishing is something I want to do for the rest of my life, don't spend the money on waders and stuff like that until you're sure. So I usually wear old tennis shoes. They're comfortable, they're available. You buy a new pair, you just set a pair in the garage, and when you go fishing, you put them on. And that's great. The only complaint I had with those is where the cuff of the shoe, where your ankle is usually too low and too open. So you get a lot of sand, you get a lot of gravel, and that can be painful when you're walking. And every 5 steps, you're like a cat with its feet wet, shaking gravel out of your shoe or something. So there's old tennis shoes. You can wear some of those heavier duty sandals like Keens or Tevas. And those work well, but those are really bad about getting gravel in them. And so with those are the ones where you're really walking down the river shaking your feet like a cat. And while I like those for being like in a canoe or something, for extended time in the river fishing, they're not the best. So that brings me to my next point. These little dudes right here, these are Orvis's Pro Approach wading shoe, and they are an excellent product. They do get a little bit lower reviews than some other brands that I've seen, but this is the only brand that I've tried, and I don't give it a 5-star necessarily, but I do give it a pretty high rating, and I'll go over why. So, like I said, if you're wearing the old tennis shoes, the problem with them is that the cuff is like this. It's low, it has this cutout for your ankle, and it's usually fairly open so that gravel and sand can get in there, and that can really wear on your feet after a while. So what Orvis does with these is they have this nice mesh cuff right here with elastic around the top. It's mesh, so it does allow a little bit of sand in, but this elastic is tight enough up here that since I've been wearing these, which is since April or May, I've not had one single uncomfortable rock in my wading shoe while fishing. So it's effective. One of the complaints that I've seen is that this elastic hole right here is too tight and too small for people to get their foot in, and it's too constricting on their ankle. I have bony feet and tiny ankles, so it's fine for me. It works perfect. If you have larger feet and maybe larger ankles, you might look at a different option. But you might at least give these a try and see what you think. If that cuff was not tight, then it's not going to keep anything out. So kind of a trade-off you have to deal with there. So these cost on Orvis's website retail, they're about $150. You could probably catch them on sale at one time or another during the year. They come in two different colors. This is the camo, I think. You can kind of see in here, it's got a little bit of a camo color. It's really kind of hard to tell. But there's a gray, and then there's the camo. So these are great for what we call wet wading, and that's what I do the most of here. And so far I've used these shoes on the Guadalupe River in Texas, the Brazos River in Texas, and I've also used them in Colorado on North Clear Creek, Cebolla Creek, and the Brewster Park headwaters region of the Rio Grande. Now, I'm going to go over some pros and cons right quick of these just to finish out the review of these, and then you can kind of make up your mind on whether or not this is something you might want to try out, or look into some of the other brands and compare. Like I said, I've never tried any of the other brands. I'd love to try them and compare them, but I'll get around to that some other time. So what you need with these is a sock. I'm going to do the cons first. So the first time I wore these, we were on the Guadalupe River down around Kerrville, and I didn't have the neoprene socks in yet. They hadn't come in the mail. So I wore them without socks, and they're fine. But if you look in here, or back here on the back of the shoe, you have this nylon strap that enables you to pull the shoe on a little bit easier. Well, that nylon strap goes all the way down into the shoe to the base of the heel. And that's fine. That means that you've got a really sturdy pull strap there. But what it also means is that that kind of tough, kind of abrasive nylon runs right on your Achilles, on your heel. And that point at the top of your heel that fits right into this cup right here, the stitching and that nylon strap will rub you absolutely raw if you don't wear a sock with these. Those 2 or 3 days that I fished the Guadalupe, I came out with some really pretty nasty blisters because of that nylon strap. So how do you fix that? Well, you can buy another brand, or you can invest in some neoprene socks. And the neoprene socks are great because if the water's cold, they can insulate your foot a little bit. And also, when you fold it down like this, Orvis included this nice little handy metal hook right here, and that's going to hook on your lace and keep your sock from rubbing on your foot. Hello, May. What are you doing? Can you say hi?
Hi.
What's up?
Can you please come to this the coffee shop that we're making that's called Wired?
Yes, I'll be there in just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for the invitation. That was May. That's my youngest daughter. She just invited me to their coffee shop called Wired. So I'm gonna have to go do that in a minute. So the neoprene sock, what it allows you to do is roll it over, and it's gonna cover the cuff of the shoe like this height right here, and that just gives you that much more protection from rocks and gravel, and also is gonna give you enough cushion back here so that nylon strap doesn't rub. So that's my biggest complaint about these, is that really bad rub spot in the back of that shoe. The other con that I have with it personally is that they can be pretty slick, but that's going to be with any rubber-soled wading boot or shoe. Rubber is just not the best material for standing on really mossy, slick, snotty rocks. In the Guadalupe and the Brazos, I haven't had any issue with them being slick. But while we were in Colorado up in Brewster Park on the headwaters of the Rio Grande, that was maybe some of the slickest substrate I've walked on while fly fishing. It was like ice under there. And I was wearing these, and yes, they are good soles, but I ended up on my butt 2, maybe 3 times while I was fishing that river. So they're not perfect. They're by no means perfect. I don't think Orvis makes these in a felt sole. You can maybe get some sort of felt sole material and paste it or strap it onto the shoe, or get some corkers. I'm still kind of experimenting with that, but since I don't really need them to be any more grippy here where I fish the most, I'm probably not going to worry about it. The other complaint that other people have, like I said, is the tightness of this cuff. Again, it's not an issue for me. It might be for you, so choose carefully. Pros now, just for comparison, this is a wading boot from Orvis. This is the wading shoe. This is like a moon boot. It's like a astronaut spacesuit boot. It's massive, it's clunky, it's chunky, it's heavy, it holds water. So when you get out of the water, you're like, every step you take, water splashes out of the top. So these have their place for colder weather fishing, but if I'm going to choose something for every other time of the year, this is what I'm going with. So the good thing about these, the pro that I'm going for here, is these fit like a shoe, not like a boot. They're lightweight, they fit like a shoe, they drain well. You do get a little bit of water retention in them when you're walking around out of the water. They could improve the drain holes maybe a tad on these. And then just the protection you get from this cuff and a neoprene sock from the gravel is just excellent. So I have no complaints about the gravel part of it. So anyway, that's my review of the Orvis Pro Approach wading shoe. If you have any questions about that you want to direct towards me, I'm happy to answer those too. I've used these quite a few times now, and I'm going to continue to do so. Might eventually try to compare them against some of the other brands, Sims and whoever else makes wading shoes. But anyway, these are the ones I tried first, and I love them. There's just those couple of caveats, but you can get past those. So if you have any questions about Brazos on the fly, about the wading shoes, about anything else fly fishing, be sure to get in touch, and I'll be happy to do my best to answer your questions. I'm going to sign off now, and I'm going to go to Wired, the coffee shop, and I'll see you next time.